What's up, everybody? We're out on the road, and as you can see behind me, possibly through the windows, it's snowing. It's a veritable winter wonderland here in February, but that has nothing to do with today's video. Today I'm here to talk about, check out that awesome picture cover. Supa Friendz, Off to See the Wizard, their very first single. So Off to See the Wizard dropped in 1996 on On-Side Recordings, which was their producer Bedroom Wizards label. Now 1996, again, this is the Supa Friendz first single. I mean, they got attention for Vowel Movement, their second single, which is dope, and Danger Mouse solo stuff. We came out with the tracks Questions. You know, that's really what got them attention. So this one really kind of came and went completely under the radar. Now, this wasn't the first appearance ever really of the Supa Friendz, because Mad Skillz had come out in '95, and he was major label and he was a big deal. And so they were certainly featured on the Posse cut, Unseen World, and Kalonji had that incredible duet, Tongues on Some Next Shit. So the Supa Friendz were out there, it's just people didn't know who the Supa Friendz were. They didn't realize those guys were the Supa Friendz. They didn't refer to themselves, I don't think, as the Supa Friendz. Maybe they mentioned it on Unseen World, but even if they did, they just weren't known as a crew. They just sort of Mad Skillz generic boys. And so then what's interesting is that was 95. This is 1996. Mad Skillz, of course, was our only known artist, and he's not on this single at all. So interestingly, he was their big front man, but they didn't put him out there. It was sort of like, you know, D12, if they're like, we don't need Eminem. We're just gonna, you know, it's just on the strength of Bizarre, we're gonna be big. Look again at this amazing picture cover. The track again is called Off to See the Wizard, and it's got a whole Wizard of Oz theme to it, if you can tell, but it's also got this crazy sci-fi hip-hop theme to it, so it's kind of it's kind of bug graph style. It's really dope. The track Off to See the Wizard did later appear on the Bedroom Wizards album a couple years later, so that's where people would have heard of the track, if they've heard of it at all, is on that album, because that album came out at Good Vibe Recordings, and by then Mad Skillz and Supa Friendz were a bit bigger, and you know, they at least had a name on the underground scene. People were really checking for stuff like Questions and Mouth of Madness and Vowel Movement, and so by then they had a name, so by then I'm sure people were like, oh, Supa Friendz were on the Bedroom Wizard album, that's cool. That's how I was anyway. That's why I bought the album, was for the Supa Friendz track and the Mad Skillz track and stuff. This came several years before Supa Friendz blew up. It's a dope track. It's got this hardcore, it's an interesting kind of mixed production. The bass line you'll recognize instantly. So one Dr. Dre used for deep cover with Snoop Dogg, you know, doom, boom, boom, and AC Alone used it and all that. But they totally, I mean, he uses a completely different beat with his high-pitched piano tingling over it and stuff. I mean, you can almost listen to the whole track and not even realize it's a deep cover bass line. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty hard. I mean, it's the Supa Friendz. It's not like, you know, super hardcore, gritty street stuff. You know, it's backpackery, but it's pretty hard, especially for that kind of style. And it's clever, but without being way overboard in the cutesy punchline department. You know, it's just witty enough to be witty without being cute. And it features a pretty nice lineup. It features Danger Mouse, Kalonji the Immortal, who was, after Tongues on Some Next Shit, was really pretty much my favorite Supa Friend, who I was checking for and was dying for him to release more material, and he basically hardly ever did. Although much later he's now associated with Stone's Throw and all that, but that's a whole nother chapter in the 2000s. This is 1996. And Lonnie B, who's a Supa Friendz staple. So there's a couple versions on here, but nothing too much to get excited about. You got the Lonnie B mix, which is pretty much just the generic album version. So one's on the Bedroom Wizard album years later. I mean, it's dope. I'm not saying generic like a bad thing, but I mean, there's no exclusive remix or anything like that. It's got the instrumental, which is good to have, and there's a radio edit, which is the same thing, except censored, I guess, but they're not really cursing on it. So actually, having listened to it a bunch of times, I'm not even entirely sure what the difference is. Maybe they just sort of edit out 3 seconds of instrumentals there somewhere. It's really a negligible difference.
On a yellow road of bricks, we off to see the man in the land with the beats that kick. Supa Friendz be the platinum picks. We're off to see the Bedroom Wizard and his bag of tricks. Well, let me ease on down. All those that be in my way get beat on down. Shame it got to be that way. Crews they want action, but get no satisfaction. See, you can't win. Child ass might Michael Jackson. You lose, or you took a snooze, we paid dues. That's why these whack crews can't bring us no bad news. I'm off to see the wizard. Who is it? I've been here, the stage and off in Supa Friendz. Represent Virginia, from here to somewhere over the rainbow. Oh no, we're not in Richmond anymore. There's no place like home. There's nothing like a microphone. Click my heels 3 times and I'm gone.
Call me the leader like Rakim, cause I'm a mic fiend. Playing rappers like we used to play Itchy Ditchy Ice Cream.
So that's Off to See the Wizard, as in the wizard, bedroom wizard, get it? A dope track from the Supa Friendz. Not an exclusive track, as I say, so hardcore Supa Friendz fans have probably already heard it, but just a dope track from a crew who, frankly, were starved for dope tracks from. I mean, not necessarily the individual members, you know, because Danger Mouse had a solo album, and Mad Skills, frankly, no offense, Mad Skills, but there's too much Skills material out there. It's the inverse. But as far as the crew, we're really kind of starved for dope tracks from them. So this is a dope track. And this early 96 single with the ilk picture cover is a really cool collector's item. But that's not the end of the story. Flip it over and you get the B-side, which is completely exclusive. It's a dope duet called So Fresh, and it features 2 of the most underrated and not at all overexposed, underexposed artists, Kalonji the Immortal again, and Mindbender, who again you've heard on like Unseen World and some other tracks, but really you haven't heard enough from either of them. And both of them get to share the mic on this, and this is cool. This is at least as dope. But the instrumental is way more understated, so it's much more of a subtle track. And again, it's not too heavy on the punchline. And yeah, like I said, So Fresh is exclusive to this release, and there's 2 mixes on it. The remix and the old mix. That's actually what they call it, and that's the order they come in, the remix and the old mix. So I guess they had leaked the old mix out before, like on demos or something, and some people had already been familiar with it, hence referring to it as the old mix. But really for everybody, both were brand new mixes. So yeah, anyway, you got the old mix and the remix. I think one's better than the other, but I'm not even gonna, I'll just let you guys decide for yourselves, because of course I'm gonna play clips of both. So you also get both instrumentals of, you know, both versions of So Fresh, plus a radio edit. I was as big a Supa Friendz fan as you could be back in the days. I'm still a Supa Friendz fan. They've just broken up and they don't do anything anymore, but you know, if anything ever gets released, I'm on top of it. But I was a huge Supa Friendz fan. I had everything. I was getting it all as soon as it came out. Danger Mouse, Vowel Movement. And still, and as plugged in as I was, you know, searching for them online, offline, actually being in contact with the label, still through all that, I had completely missed this single. This is pretty obscure, pretty hard to find. I've never been able to find it on like Discogs or Amazon or eBay. I never see it come up, so it is genuinely, seriously rare. And definitely a nice collector's item. Obviously I did eventually find it, and it was a happy day when I did, because this is some dope shit. And even though I was sort of hoping that maybe the Lonnie B mix of Off to See the Wizard was going to be a completely new instrumental, so I was going to get an exclusive mix of Off to See the Wizard, and I didn't, still, classic track and a killer exclusive B-side, 2 mixes of that, plus the instrumentals, picture cover and all. Just an awesome, awesome obscure release. Maybe not their best release, because, you know, I mean, Vowel Movement was still to come, and that's a real classic. And some of the other stuff, like Supa, Consequences and Repercussions. I mean, they did some really hot material all along. So I don't know if I can quite call it the best. I think I'm only maybe tempted to call it the best because it's so rare and it's such an awesome find for me. But it's definitely dope. So if you do come across it, you do find it, snatch it up immediately. Even if you don't like it, you can then go online and sell it for a couple $100. But I think you will like it, and I think you'll want to keep it. This is the remix version.
Help the skelter, MCs run for shelter. You cannot rap me with 5% as helpless. N-Y-N-B-E-N to the D-A. Cliches be cyphering, cause I be Eiffel towering over MC's mind, been the fashion. My writer's block comes down bashing and up on you like a fat said the disco, this flow, sweeter than week in San Francisco.
Fresh for 96.
Obviously, it's a radio version of the remix.
Like this. Yeah, you heard of us, our name's got that. She can't sleep cause I stuff your pillowcases with some juniper. Driving you crazy with styles like these. Cooking them seeds like an African Don Louise. Kalonji sets it up to have you falling in my trap. Now you can't get up. So what? It's going on in this world where hip hop is running rapid and everybody's rapping in and out of context. But I'ma start making facts. Rappers toned down like so.
Hey yo, who be the fresh?
Yo, we be the fresh.
The freshest who?
Yo, the freshest MCs.
Fresh, yo, we be FRESACs. I am a AT&T communication weapon that explodes the effects of 9 sex.
That hook is obviously taken from Fresh by the Fresh Friendz on Profile Records in 1985. It's a classic hook that's been used many times in hip-hop. My bad, that was actually the old version. I didn't realize the tape wasn't all the way around. So I played the old version first, which actually kind of makes more sense to do it before the remix. It's just not the order it comes up in the tape. So now this is going to be the remix.
Help the skelter, MCs run for shelter. You can out rap me with 5%ers helpers. NYNBEN to the DA. Cliches be stifling cause I be Eiffel towering over MCs' mind been the fashion. My writer's block comes down bashing and up on you like a fat. Said the disco, this flow, sweeter than week in San Francisco.
Fresh for 96. Forever people coming with fresh like this. Yeah, you heard of us, our name's got that. She can't sleep cause I stuff your pillowcases with some junipers. Driving you crazy with styles like these. Cooking them seeds.
See, both versions of this track are really kind of mellow, atmospheric, real calm head nodder shit. I like it a lot. And yet the lyrics are clever and smart and not just sort of laid back nothing. Like the more you pay attention, the more you're rewarded.
Rappers toned down like so.